Hello everyone, welcome back to the JAMB Master Biology class. I hope we enjoyed our last two classes, right? So yes, today we are going to be considering a topic titled Properties of a Cell. The properties of a cell. I need you to get rid of every distraction and focus on the class. This is the next topic in the JAMB Biology syllabus. In order for you to pass your JAMB, remember, you have to follow the JAMB syllabus. So yes, let's get right into the class. Properties of the cell. Now, properties of a cell are those characteristics that a cell must exhibit. If a cell does not exhibit these properties, it cannot be called a cell. So a cell is a living thing. Yes, cell is living because it has different characteristics that makes it living. Remember our first class when I said that a living thing is a thing that has the characteristics of excretion, respiration, and all of those. So yes, a cell is living, and for anything to be called a cell or for something to be called a cell, it must have the following properties. And number one, we have nutrition. Nutrition. Yes. So nutrition has to do with feeding. For us to live, we have to feed. For your systems to work, for your body to be active, you have to feed because this food is broken down and it produces the energy which your body works with. So every cell in your body needs energy. That is the function of the mitochondria. Remember I said that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. So your cell, every cell in your body needs to be active for your body to be very viable. For you to be very viable, for you to be able to carry out life processes, you have to feed. That is why they say that nutrition is one of the properties of the cell, because for any cell of the body to function, it must feed. It must feed. So let's get right into the class. So nutrition. Nutrition, feeding. Right? And we have types of nutrition. Remember, I also made mention of it in our first class, types of nutrition. And I said that we have two types of nutrition. Number one, we have autotrophic or holophytic. Example of where it occurs, we have plants. Plants basically carry out autotrophic nutrition. Number two, we have heterotrophic. So yes, so we have two types of nutrition. We have the autotrophic nutrition or holophytic nutrition. So you can see in JAMB, they can ask you a question like, autotrophic nutrition is also known as what? The answer is holophytic. And then heterotrophic nutrition is also known as holozoic nutrition. So yes, autotrophic nutrition occurs in plants and it is through the process of photosynthesis. So, autotrophic nutrition occurs in plants through the process of what? Photosynthesis. And we know that photosynthesis is a process by which plants synthesizes its own food. So yeah, so photosynthesis is carried out in plants. It's a process by which plants can synthesize its own food. It means that plants produce their own food through the mechanism or through the process of photosynthesis. And photosynthesis is an Yes. Photosynthesis is under anabolism. Now, metabolism is made up of two things. We have anabolism and catabolism. Now, anabolism is a build-up process. Anabolism, build-up process. Catabolism is breakdown process. Now, photosynthesis is under what? Anabolism. So plants carry out photosynthesis to be able to produce their own food, and it is characterized under what? Anabolism. And anabolism is under what? Metabolism. So metabolism is a composition of two mechanisms, which is anabolism and what? Catabolism. And anabolism is a build-up process, which an example is photosynthesis. Example of anabolism, we have photosynthesis, any process in the body that has to do with building up. Any process that occurs in the body that has to do with building up. Example, we also have the formation of glycogen. Glycogen, and it is through glucose. So when your body converts glucose to glycogen, because your body cannot just store glucose, for glucose to be stored in the human body or to be stored in a cell or any organ of the body, it must be converted to what? Glycogen. So the human body converts glucose to what? Glycogen. But in plants, this is for humans or for animals. Let's go with animals. But in plants, you see glucose, it is stored as what? Starch. These are the things that you should know, because they always ask you in JAMB. Glucose in plants. Remember, we are still discussing on nutrition as a property of a cell. So we have glycogen in animals. In animals, this glucose is converted to what? Glycogen, for it to be stored so that your body can make use of it. So whenever you consume carbohydrates, whenever you consume food, it cannot be stored like that in the body. It must be converted from this glucose. So it must be converted from glucose towards glycogen. And in plants, it is converted from glucose to what? To starch. So this processing are called what? Anabolism. They are called anabolism, which is the build-up process. So photosynthesis is what? Anabolism. Anabolism. The conversion of glucose to glycogen in animals is what? Anabolism. The conversion of glucose to starch in plants is what? Anabolism. So all these processes are what? Under what? Nutrition. So any cell must go through these processes. One is nutrition. So we are going over to number 2. Let me dust the board. I hope we are understanding. Let me go over again. So I said that properties of a cell are those characteristics that every cell must exhibit. And I said that one is nutrition. Now, nutrition has to do with feeding. The intake of food substances is what? Nutrition. And we have two main types of nutrition, which is the autotrophic nutrition, which occurs in plants. And it is basically through the process of what? Photosynthesis. It is the process by which plants synthesize their own food through the help of what? Sunlight. Plants synthesize its own food through the help of sunlight. Through the help of what? Sunlight. And I said something about metabolism. I talked about metabolism because I wanted to break down glucose and starch. I wanted to break down these processes. So I was saying that photosynthesis is the process by which plant synthesizes its own food through the help of what? The sunlight. Now I said that we have what we call metabolism. And metabolism is a combination of a build-up process and a breakdown process. So whenever you hear the word metabolism, metabolism is both a build-up process and a breakdown process. And metabolism is a combination of what? Anabolism and what? Catabolism. Now I said that anabolism is a build-up process, and I said that any process in the body or in the body of an animal or a plant, because they are living things, right? Whenever I say body, just know I'm talking about plants and animals, right? Or talking about living organisms in general, both unicellular organisms and all. So metabolism is a combination of both anabolism and what? Catabolism. the build up and the breakdown process. Because for you to exist, for you to continue living, your body must be building up something, and it must be degrading or breaking down other substances for you to be able to be viable, for you to be healthy and strong. So I say that glycogen is when glucose has to be stored in the body, it is stored as what? Glucose is stored as what? Glycogen in animals. Now for glucose in plants, starch, right? It's converted to what? Starch. So this conversion of glucose to glycogen is a build-up process in animals, and that of glucose to starch is a build-up process in what? In plants. So let's take note of that. So we are going over to the second property of a cell. I'm wiping the board. Yes, let me drop this. So number 2, respiration. I hope my handwriting is bold enough. Respiration. So yes, before I go back to respiration, we just talked about nutrition, right? I'm making use of your biology textbook because this is what JAMB use, right? For you to follow the JAMB syllabus, you have to make use of your textbook. So yes, I skipped an important information. That is why it's good for you to use a material that is well organized and just teaching from your head. So I was about to tell all of us under nutrition. Let's look at this part of the board. Under nutrition, still nutrition. Sometimes they can ask you questions like how amoeba feed, right? So note amoeba under nutrition still. Amoeba feed by engulfing. They feed by engulfing. Now let me explain. Now this is the way amoeba is. I cannot really, I'm guessing it though. Yes, amoeba is like this. Then this is the nucleus, and this is like other organelles. Yes. So this is an amoeba, right? Now, when an amoeba is moving, it moves through the locomotion of amoeba's locomotion occurs through the pseudopodia. Through the pseudopodia, right? Now, all these things you are seeing here, all these things in here, is a pseudopodia movement for amoeba to move. It's a shapeless organism. So as it's moving, it's actually changing shape. If amoeba is to move like this now, this thing can become something like this. Because it has what? It has changed shape. That's how it moves. So it moves through the help of its what? Pseudopodia. Now for amoeba to feed, as it's moving, let's assume this is something it wants to feed on. Is here. Let's say this is the food, right? It wants to feed on. What it does is that this amoeba, because remember that it has moved from this position to this position, and it has changed shape. Remember, it's a shapeless organism. So what it's going to do is that as it moves, if it's going to move again to this point, it's going to now move in a way that is going to engulf this food. For instance, it's not going to be like this. You get? Then it's this thing now, this part of it now, it has now turned over for it to now what? Engulf this food. So amoeba feeds by what? Engulfing. Note, amoeba feeds by what? Engulfing. And it's moved through the help of its what? Pseudopodia. So you can call it a pseudopodia movement. So note. Then let's talk about paramecium. Paramecium is like your slippers. I may not be able to get it properly, but paramecium is something like this, right? Then it has cilia. This is how it is. It has cilia. I'm just giving you like an example of paramecium. You can check your textbook or check online for paramecium. I'm trying to like draw it properly for you. So this is how it is, right? This is how it is. Sorry, this is how it is. Then this is the cilia. So for paramecium to feed, it feeds through the help of the cilia. This cilia, remember that this cilia helps it to move. It moves through the help of the cilia. So for it to feed, it will also move through the help of the cilia for it to now capture what it wants to feed on. So that's that on that. So the next we're talking about is what? Respiration. Let me wipe the board. Cellular respiration. You see the same thing as respiration. Let's call it cellular respiration because we're talking about the cell. So cellular respiration. Remember that I said that respiration is the breakdown of glucose. Cellular respiration, the breakdown of glucose in the presence or absence of oxygen. Now, we have two types of respiration or types of cellular respiration. And they are these. We have aerobic respiration, which means that it is in the presence of oxygen. Now, look at what now glucose is C6H12O6. This is glucose plus oxygen. Oxygen is going to be 6 molecules of oxygen. Now it's going to break down in the remember that aerobic respiration is the breakdown of glucose in the presence of what? Oxygen. Now note that respiration is is under catabolism, right? Remember I told us something that metabolism, remember I told us something that metabolism is made up of two things, which includes catabolism, breakdown, and anabolism. That place is too small, right? Let me clean it. Sorry. That place is too small. But yes, let me explain. We already have it before that. I said that metabolism includes both anabolism and what catabolism. And I said that anything under catabolism is a breakdown process. So yes, cellular respiration is a breakdown process. It's catabolism. So yes. So now cellular respiration is the breakdown of glucose. This is the glucose. This is the chemical representation of glucose, right? This is how glucose is being represented. So this is glucose in the presence or absence of oxygen. Now, under the types of cellular respiration, we have two. We have aerobic, which is in the presence of what? Oxygen. Now, this is glucose and oxygen. Glucose is broken down as oxygen is present. So it's going to give us carbon dioxide, water, and energy. This ATP is adenosine triphosphate. This meaning of ATP. Adenosine triphosphate. So yes. So balancing this equation, we are going to have 6CO2, 6H2O plus energy. So yes, when glucose is broken down in the presence of oxygen, it's going to give us this, and energy. This ATP is energy. Note, it's energy. So yes, so if we balance this equation, look at it. Look at carbon is 6. Carbon is 6 here. Oxygen, O2. The first oxygen here is 6, right? So we have 6 times 2. Sorry, the first oxygen here is 6, right? So let's balance this. Let's start from beginning. So I hope you can see this part of the board. So let's do it here. So this is carbon. Carbon is 6. Carbon is 6 here. Carbon is 6 here. Oxygen is how many here? We have 6 times 2, which is what? 12. We have 6 here. So this is 6. 6 plus 12 is what? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have what? 18. I'm doing it like this so that you can understand. So we have 18 oxygen, right? So this is 6 times 2 is what? 12. This 6 here is also covering this as well. CH2O, right? 6 times 2 is what? 12. We have 6 in front. Any number that is in front covers everything here, just like this. This 6 that is here covers everything here. That's why we are doing 6 times 2, which is what? 12. For the first oxygen. This 6 here is also for the C. So any number here covers all the compounds or all the elements that is here. Is the element rather that is here. So we have 6 times 2, the first oxygen. That's why we have 12 here. Then we have what? 6 here. So 6. So we have 6 oxygen. So 12 plus 6, you see it is 18. So it's balanced. Okay, let me go again because I know some of us will not grasp it. Remember we did balancing chemical equation in chemistry. So I said that glucose, this is glucose, C6, H12O6 is glucose. And oxygen, we have 6 molecules of oxygen here that is breaking down glucose to give us carbon dioxide, water, and energy, which is ATP. And I think that ATP is what? Adenosine triphosphate. Now the glucose, we are having carbon dioxide and we have 6 molecules of it, right? So these 6 molecules now represent, whenever you see a number in front, it covers all the elements that is here. So we have for carbon, we have 6 carbon molecules here. Remember, look at 6 carbon molecules. So carbon is balanced. Let's take carbon, balanced. Now for the next one we are balancing now is oxygen, right? And I said from here, oxygen is 6 here, plus this oxygen here, 6 times 2 is what? 6 times 2 is what? 12. 12 plus 6 is what? 18. So oxygen is 18 here. Now let's balance the oxygen here. Let's see if it's rhyming. So we are saying that 6 is here, and I said that any number that is in front covers the molecule here. So we have 6 molecule of water. Now based on 6 molecule of water, now 6 covers the oxygen here, right? So we have 6 oxygen here. 6 times 2, 12 oxygen, which is what? 18. So we see that the oxygen molecules now, they are balanced. So let's check for the hydrogen. The hydrogen. So for hydrogen is 12 here. Now we have 6 times 2 is what? 12. They are balanced. And energy must be released. If energy must be released to show that the process is complete. So the breakdown of glucose in the presence or absence of oxygen is what? Respiration. Now let's look at anaerobic process. I hope we've copied it down. Yes. So let's go to anaerobic respiration. The breakdown of glucose in the absence of oxygen. Now, yeah, three different molecules, three different compounds rather, is going to be released. Sorry, I've missed the page. I want us to be on track so that I don't go outside of or I miss any important point I want to emphasize on. So yes, see what I spelled here, guy. Sorry. Oxygen. So we have C6. So let's balance the equation. We are going to have here. CO2 is carbon dioxide. We all know that, right? This is alcohol. I hope it's not colliding. Okay, let me write it again. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, alcohol, and energy. So anaerobic respiration is a breakdown of glucose in the absence of oxygen. Remember that in aerobic respiration, there was glucose, there was oxygen. Now we have only glucose. Now glucose is broken down without oxygen. And it's going to give you alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy, which is what? ATP, right? So now let's look at this. We have 4 carbon atom here. Let's balance carbon. Carbon is 6 here, right? 6 carbon here. We have 2 here. That means 4 is remaining. So for carbon here, we have 2 times 2, right? This is C6. So we have 2 here, right? 2, yes. So 2 times 2 is what? 4. Then here is 2. So 2 plus 4 is what? 6. Carbon is balanced. Right? Now for alcohol, H is 5 here. We have H12. So yes, this equation is balanced. Remember that I said that energy is formed. So 5H is here. So we have 5 here. We have 1 here. Sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry. I made a mistake. Sorry. I forgot that it's 2 molecules are supposed to be. I hope you can see my 2. My 2 is suffering from a disease. Rank 2. So yeah, sorry, I made a mistake. I'm very sorry. I apologize. I forgot that it's supposed to be 2. Yeah. So yeah, so I said that cellular respiration, we have anaerobic respiration, and I said that anaerobic respiration is the breakdown of glucose in the absence of oxygen. So yeah, oxygen is absent. Remember that we have aerobic. So in aerobic, oxygen is present. In anaerobic, oxygen is what? Absent. So yeah, this is the glucose. Glucose is C6H12O6. It's broken down to 2 molecules of alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy. Now, 2 times 2 is what? 4. I'm very sorry. I apologize. I don't know what I was thinking when I was doing this. So 2 times 2 is 4 for oxygen. So oxygen here is 4, not carbon. Carbon is just 2. You cannot times this. This 2 here belongs to oxygen, O2. This 2 here belongs to what? Carbon. So yes, so carbon here, 2 times 2 is what? 4. 4 plus 2 is 6. Carbon is balanced. So we have 2 molecules. Remember that we have H12 here. So we have 2 molecules. Remember that alcohol is 2 molecules. So 2 times 5 is what? 10. Right? 10. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 is remaining from here, right? It's part of the energy that is formed from it. Can I see? Sorry. Yes, we have 2 times 5 is 10. We have 1 H here, which is, yes, this 2 is for the H, which is what? 12. Sorry. Let me explain from beginning. I know that I've been making mistake while trying to explain. So let me explain from beginning. So I remember that I said that in anaerobic respiration, glucose has to be broken down, but this time oxygen is absent, right? So we have C6, H12, and O6. This is glucose. This is glucose. Absence of oxygen, we are going to have alcohol. Plus carbon 4 oxide, which is carbon dioxide. Energy. So this is it. This is anaerobic respiration. Oxygen is not present here. Now remember that in aerobic respiration, we have glucose plus oxygen. Now we have only glucose, right? So yes. So now look at the reaction. See what is happening here. Now I was teaching us how to balance the equation here. I was making mistakes previously. My brain is colliding. I'm colliding aerobic and anaerobic. So now I'm clear on that. So we have carbon here. We have 6 carbon here. So let's balance the 6 carbon. Let's look for the 6 carbon here. This is 2 molecule of all alcohol, right? So we have 2 times 2. I remember that I said that any 2 in front is going to represent everything here, right? So we're going to also be here. So I said that any 2 here is going to be for any 2 that is in front covers everything here. So 2 times 2 for carbon, we have 4 carbon here. So I said that you cannot times these 2. For carbon, the only carbon here is 2, which is this one in front. 2 carbon, which is this one in front. You cannot times this 2 because this 2 here belongs to this 2 that is here belongs to oxygen and not carbon. So the only molecule or the only amount of carbon we have here is just 2, which is this 2 that is in front. Let me write it well. This 2 in front. So we have 2 carbon. 2 plus 4 is what? 6, which is the 6 we have here. So carbon is balanced, right? Yes. So now let's move over to hydrogen. Hydrogen here is 12. Now let's look for the 12 here. 2 times, remember that this 2 covers everything here. So you are going to times this 2 with this 5. So 2 times 5 is what? 10. 2 is here. H is here. So we have 2 oxygen, 2 hydrogen here, which is what? 12. 2 2 times 5, 10. 2 here. 2. This 2 covers here. So 2, which is 12, and it's 12 here. Then we go over to oxygen. Oxygen is 6, right? This 2 here covers this one here. So this is 2 because of this 2 here. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4. 4 plus 2 is what? 6. So we see that the equation is what? Is balanced. In the process, energy is what? Released, which is the energy we are seeing here. I hope we understand. Just note that this is anaerobic respiration. I'm just trying to explain it for us so that we understand the concept. But in JAMB, they will not tell you to balance the equation in JAMB. In JAMB, they will just like ask you this, they can just give you this and ask you what type of respiration is occurring here. The answer is what? Anaerobic. Why? Because only glucose is present. So only glucose is present and it has been broken down without oxygen. And it's giving us alcohol, carbon dioxide, and what? Energy. Let's go over to the next. So what is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration? Let me write it. The difference between them. Difference we have aerobic, right? Anaerobic. So this is it. This is aerobic. This is what? Anaerobic. So now the difference is this. The difference is this. Aerobic, oxygen is present. Anaerobic, oxygen is absent. So the first is that oxygen is present. Oxygen is what's present. Yeah. Oxygen is what's absent. Right? So look at it. Oxygen is here, no oxygen here. The next difference is this. More energy will be released. Here is going to be less energy. Another difference is this. The product formed, we have what? We have carbon dioxide, comma, water, and energy is formed. Here we have what? We have alcohol, carbon dioxide, is what is formed. So this is their major differences, right? So in aerobic, this is it. So in aerobic, oxygen is present. Yeah, oxygen is absent in anaerobic. The product formed, we have carbon dioxide, water, and what? Energy. In aerobic. In anaerobic, we have what? Alcohol, carbon dioxide, and what? Energy. In aerobic respiration, more energy will be released because oxygen is present. less energy will be released because oxygen is what? Absent. I hope it's understood. Thank you. We go over to the next. This is number 3, right? Number 3 is number 3. Number 1 was nutrition. Number 2 was respiration. Yes, this is number 3, which is excretion. My handwriting is small. People have to. Okay. Excretion. Removal of waste products. From So excretion is a removal of waste product from an organism. I'm going to be listing out something for us to know. Number 1, note this, organisms. Sorry. This is their excretory organ. So just note it. And the product they excrete. The product they excrete. Number 1, we have unicellular organisms, protozoa. Under protozoa, we have amoeba and paramecium. Their excretory organs, their body surfaces, and contrital vacuole. And the products they excrete is carbon dioxide, water, and mineral salts. The next one, number 2, we have flatworms. Example, we have the tapeworm. And their excretory organ is flame cell. And the excretory product is water, H2O, water, carbon dioxide, CO2. Water is H2O. Let me write it water for you, sorry. Water. Carbon dioxide is CO2. CO2 is what? Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. And nitrogenous wastes. Hope you can see. The next one we have is roundworms. Please note their examples though, because they can ask you the excretory organ of tapeworm is what? Flame cell. Now, example of roundworm, we have the what's that? Earthworm, yes, earthworm. Earthworm. And it is in Nephridia. The Nephridia. And the excretory product is what? Carbon dioxide, urea, and uric acid. I don't think you will see this down part, so I have to clean the first one. Right? Yeah. So let me explain. We have protozoa. Example of protozoa, we have amoeba and paramecium. Now note this, in JAMB, they can ask you, the excretory organ of amoeba is what? So note that protozoa, amoeba and paramecium, they are examples of protozoa. Their excretory organ is through their body surface or their contrital vacuole. So now if this is amoeba, they have something that is called the contrital vacuole inside this place. For instance, if this is the now this is, let me say, this is the contrital vacuole, right? This place is the contrital vacuole. So it is either they are excreting through this body surface or this through this what contrital vacuole. So amoeba, which is a protozoa, the excretory organ, the organ through which they excrete is the what? The body surface or the contrital vacuole. So notice, I want you to like take note of the organism. Very important. So note that protozoa, we have example amoeba and paramecium. Now flatworms, example of flatworm is what? Tapeworm. So they can ask you in JAMB, the excretory organ of a tapeworm is what? Flame cell. So why noting this? Note the what? The example of it. It's just like you saying, okay, mammals, exactly. You can say mammals. Examples of mammals, we have what? We have human beings, we have humans, we have rats, we have monkey, right? So this is like the general group, and this is like the example. So this is the general group name for amoeba and paramecium, right? Flatworms is the general name or the group name for organisms like what? Tapeworm. Roundworm is the group name for organisms like what? Earthworm. So they can ask you in JAMB, the excretory organ of what? Tapeworm is what? Flame cell. The excretory organ of earthworm is what? Nephridia. So please, read it, take note of it. Remind yourself of it. Thank you. So I'm wiping this. Let's roll fast, 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 fast. Fast, right. Fast, 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 fast. According to Igbo people, or see so. There's no time to waste. So we have number 4. We have insects. We have insects. An example of insects, we have what? Cockroach. We have cockroach. We have housefly. Just note that insects. So in case of they put any insect apart from these two, you know that insects is what? Malphigian tube. I want it to be visible. Malphigian tube. M-A-L. Malphigian. Malphigian tube. So insects is what? Malphigian what? Tube. And the excretory product, we have carbon 4 oxide, we have water, and we have uric acid. The next organism we have, sorry, I'm wiping this too. The next organism we have is mammals. They are other vertebrates. Remember that I said that vertebrates are organisms that have backbone, right? So vertebrate organisms are organisms that have backbone. An example, we have mammals. And remember that I already gave us example of mammals, human beings, monkeys, and all of those. We have lungs. We have different excretory organs as human beings or as mammals. We have lungs. We have our lungs. We have the skin. The skin removes sweat. We have the liver. We have the kidney. Right? So we have water, H2O. We have carbon dioxide. We have mineral salts. We have nitrogenous waste. Sorry, sweat, which is for the skin. Sweat and nitrogenous waste. Right? So water, carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide is with the lungs. Remember that you breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is through the what? The lungs. We have the skin, which is what? Sweat. Mineral salts. Mineral salt is basically the liver, the kidney, nitrogenous waste, the kidney, any waste, your urine. Remember that the kidney play a role in the purification or the formation of urine. So yes, that's it. Urine, the kidney play a role in the formation of urine, right? For urine to be formed, it goes through the kidney. Respiration is through the lungs. These lungs, carbon dioxide. You breathe in oxygen, remove carbon dioxide. The skin, as you sweat, currently I'm sweating. My skin is what's bringing out what? The sweat. So the next one, number 6, right? We have flowering plants or plants. And their excretory organ is the stomata and lenticels. This is EO. Lenticels. Stomata helps with respiration, even the lenticels too. And basically, respiration is removal of water from the plant. Right? So, we are going to have the excretory product of plants is water. We have oxygen. I'm writing it like this. We have oxygen. But should I write it in words? Let me write it in words. We have water. Water is H2O. We have oxygen. Oxygen is O2. We have carbon dioxide. We have alkaloids. We have gums. You know all those plants that used to bring out those sticky substances. We have lipid. We have latex. Plants is many. We have oil. Let me write it here. And mucilage. So this is for plants. I hope that we can see it anyways. I hope that we can see it. So for plants, we have stomata and lenticel as their excretory organ. And the products, we have water, carbon dioxide, alkaloid, gums, lipid, oil, latex, and mucilage. So we are going over to the next. Please take note of the organism and their excretory organ. These products, you can take note of it, but they rarely axis. But you see the organs and the organism, Very important. They can ask you what is the excretory organ of tapeworm. Remember that I said this was is what tapeworm. Sorry, cleaning the word. Excretory organ of tapeworm is a maphigian tube. Is it a maphigian tube? Maphigian tube is for insects. Sorry, maphigian tube is for insects, right? Earthworm is nephridia. Tapeworm is flame cells. Yes, tapeworm, flame cells. Maphigian tube is insect. Then earthworm is nephridia. I remember. So yes, we are going over to the next, which is growth. My marker is faint. Let me get a marker. Growth. This is better. Growth. Growth. So I hope you can see the word. So growth is an irreversible increase. Any increase that cannot be reversed. For instance, the way you were when you were an infant is not the way you are now. I know some of us are not so tall, some of us are short, some of us are tall, but there is a significant difference in the way you were when you were a baby. For instance, as a girl, when you were an infant, 2 months old, you don't have breasts. Now you have developed breasts. As a boy, when you were an infant, right? And you don't have broad shoulders, like your shoulders were not broad, you don't have pubic hairs, you get, but now you have them. So it is because of there is growth and what development in the body. Cells are actively dividing. Cells are actively enlarging. We have cell division, cell enlargement, and cell differentiation. So your cells that are active, that are actively dividing, that is why you are able to grow and it's showing. If for any reason, maybe you were, if for any reason you are 4 years old and you are still looking like a small baby, there's a very serious issue. They will start running up and down in the hospital. Why? Because you are not meant to be like that at that particular time. There's a time where you were just basically just feeding on breast milk. A time came, you started eating baby meal like pap, custard, and all of those. It's because there is an active division. Your cells, they are actively dividing, they are actively multiplying, there is cell differentiation, and there is enlargement in the cell. So growth is what is taking place. The way you are now as a JAMB is not the way you will be when you are 50. When you are 50, why you start having gray hairs. Even if you don't have gray hairs, there will be a significant difference in your body appearance. Your skin will not be as shiny or as lightening as it is currently. Why? Because growth is actively what taking place. For the females, you will go through what they call menopause and all of those. So yes, it is what growth. When you were an infant, you were not seeing your menses. Why? Because you have not gotten to that point. But now you are actively seeing your menses, you are ovulating, you are going through one cyclic change or the other in the woman's cycle. Why? Because growth has taken place. So growth is an irreversible increase in the size of an organism. Sometimes you will see something like a dry mass or weight. So in case of anyone they ask you in JAMB, note it. They can say irreversible increase in dry mass or weight of an organism is what? Is growth. Due to the increase in the protoplasmic material. I say protoplasmic material. Protoplasmic material. Or protoplasm. So this is what growth is, right? So growth is an increase, an irreversible. Any increase that cannot be reversed is growth. And it occurs because the protoplasmic material has increased. And remember I said that the protoplasmic material is a combination of the nucleus and the cytoplasm, which are all components of the what? Of the cell. So we are going over to mitosis. 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 Mitosis is a process of cell division that occurs in somatic cells or non-sex cell. This is the simplest explanation. Now, mitosis is a process of cell division. Now, cell division is also known as cell multiplication. Cell division is also known as cell what? Multiplication. So when your cell is actively dividing, it's multiplying. For instance, one cell will divide and give you what? Two daughter cells. So cell division is a process of active cell multiplication. So one cell will divide. That's why you see something like a parent cell is giving you two daughter cells. So cell division is active cell multiplication. So mitosis is a process by which the cell is actively dividing in somatic cells. Now, somatic cells are non-sex cells. Any cell that does not produce the gametes, and the gametes is what? We have ova, which is the egg, the female egg, and the sperm, right? So sex cells, we have the ova and the sperm. So this is the sex cell. Note, sex cell. This is what? The sex cells. Notice that sex cells include the ova, which is the egg, and the sperm, which is the what? The male gamete. And this is the cell division that gives rise to this is meiosis. Meiosis. So for mitosis, this is it for mitosis. Cell division that occurs in what? Somatic cells. Example of somatic cell in the human or in organisms, we have red blood cell. Let me clean this. Example of somatic cells. Examples of cell where mitosis occurs. Remember I said that mitosis is the process of active cell division that occurs in somatic cells. And these somatic cells are what? Non-sex cells. Example, we have the skin. We have red blood cell. We have white blood cell. And other cells in the body that are not, any cell in the body that is not a sex cell. It is mitosis that is occurring there. So somatic cells are non-sex cells. Any cell in the body that is not the ova, which is the female egg, and the sperm, which is the male, is a somatic cell. Which is what? The somatic cell is a non-sex cell, and the sex cell, we have the ova and the sperm. So let's go back to the stages of mitosis. We have the interphase, right? We have the interphase. We have the prophase. We have the metaphase. We have the anaphase, and we have the telophase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Telophase. So I'm going to just be explaining it for us in the simplest way. In case of you see any question on it in JAMB, you just know the answer. So this interphase is called the resting phase. Now in this phase, in interphase, the chromosome, I want you to also know that mitosis, chromosome is involved. Chromosome, right? Is basically the chromosome that is involved. So now in interphase, it is called the resting phase. Now in this resting phase, this chromosome, they are like tiny strands, something like this. This is, let's assume this is the nucleus, right? This chromosome, they will be like this, tiny strand, tiny strand, tiny strand. In the interphase, which is what the resting phase, they are resting. Now in prophase, these chromosomes now that are thread-like, they will become thicker. The nucleus will disappear. Note in interphase, there is nucleus, right? Chromosomes are like tiny thread. Now in the prophase, this nucleus will eventually disappear. This chromosome, you can call it chromatids. 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 These chromatids will become thicker. To become thicker. To become thicker like this. They become thicker. So we contrast to become more visible. Remember that now they are tiny threads. Now they are contrasting to become thick. They become visible. They now become visible. And the nucleus disappears. So in the prophase, nucleus disappears. The nucleus disappears. The chromatids or chromosomes, they become visible and thicker. Now we have the metaphase. Now in this metaphase, and the spindle fiber will begin to appear. You start seeing small spindles like this. The spindle fiber, they will begin to appear. The chromosome they will become thick and visible. Then this spindle fiber appears in the prophase. Spindle fiber appears. Now, I said in the interphase, it's called the resting phase. The nucleus is still visible. The chromosome of chromatids are tiny strands. Now we go to the prophase. This nucleus now that is here, in this prophase, they have disappeared. You will not see them again in the cell, in the somatic cell. Now, this spindle fiber, if this is a cell, the spindle fiber is going to be like this, right? Now, all these chromatids, they are forming on the spindle fiber. So yeah, so now that's when it will begin to appear. Then these chromatids, they'll become thicker and they'll become visible to the eye. They become visible, nucleus disappears, chromatids visible and thicker, spindle fiber appears gradually. Now in the metaphase, this metaphase now, the spindle fiber has fully appeared. They have fully appeared. Now these chromosomes or chromatids will now align itself. They begin to align themselves. They align themselves. You see something like this now. This is like the best way to even draw it. They will not align themselves like this. They will not align themselves like this. In metaphase, chromatids aligns. They align. So sometimes in JAMB, you see a question, in what phase does the chromatids align in the centromere? Now the centromere is the middle of the spindle fiber. It is the metaphase. Now in the anaphase, look at what happens in anaphase. This thing that has already aligned in the middle, they will not divide. Do you know why they are divided? Remember that I said that in cell division, is the multiplication of cells. One cell will give you what? 2 cells, 2 daughter cells. 2 cells will give you what? 4 cells. That's how cell division occurs. That's how it goes. So in this anaphase now, this is anaphase, right? These things there, they will divide into 2. This one will go up, this one will come down. Look at what will happen. This one will be here. This one will be here. This one will be here. This downside will now come here to form their own like this. So they will now, this is anaphase. They will divide. Now in telophase, this one has already divided now. They will just divide into 2 like this in telophase. So this is telophase. In telophase, they will divide into 2 in telophase to give you 2 daughter cells. So this is what happens here in telophase. This upside will come out. This side will come out to now give you something like this. So this is telophase. The 2 daughter cells have been formed. This telophase now that has given you 2 daughter cells will now go back and start continuing this process again. This is why the human body or in any organism, that is why growth is consistently taking place, because the cell in the body is going through these phases. In the resting phase, nucleus disappear. In the prophase, interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and what? Telophase. So that is all you have to know in mitosis. So all those broad things we are telling us in secondary school, then they'll be explaining this for you cannot understand. This is just like the simplest breakdown. And in JAMB, they won't even ask you like something complicated. They will say it in a way that simple way, but it will just make you feel like, but this is not how they used to tell us in school. So this is like the simplest breakdown of it. Interphase, resting phase, prophase, that's the main beginning of this mitosis. So if they ask you the first phase of mitosis is what? We have interphase. The second phase is what? Prophase. Third, metaphase. Fourth, anaphase. Then the last phase is what? Telophase. This is where the 2 daughter cells, they are completely formed, the telophase. That is all we have today on growth. Now I said that mitosis occurs in somatic cells and meiosis occurs in what? Sex cells. Sex cells. So just note this. Mitosis, somatic cells. And somatic cells are what? Non-sex cells. Any cell except the male and female gamete. And the male and female gamete is the ova and the sperm. And the meiosis occurs in sex cells. Right? Now, note under meiosis that it has 2 phases. So, just like we have prophase, it's going to have prophase 1 and 2. Metaphase 1 and 2. Anaphase 1 and 2. And telophase. The first telophase, 2 daughter cells is formed. The second telophase, 4 daughter cells. So now let's go. Now, meiosis occurs in sex cells. These sex cells, we have the ova, which is the female egg, and we have the sperm, which is the male gamete. Now remember that in prophase, we talked about prophase that the nucleus will disappear. So now this prophase 1 and 2, remember that the first process we talk about, this 1 and 2 is just that the process of the first one is just 2-staged. Like for instance, this in prophase now, prophase 1 can be that the nucleus will disappear. Then prophase 2, the chromosome will now become thick. So it's basically the same thing, but they are broken down into two processes. The major thing for you to note under meiosis is that mitosis gives you 2 daughter cells. Meiosis gives you what? 4 daughter cells. This is just the basic thing you have to note in mitosis and meiosis. That mitosis occurs in somatic cells and it gives you 2 daughter cells. Meiosis occurs in sex cells and it gives you what? 4 daughter cells. So mitosis, 2 daughter cells. Meiosis, 4 daughter cells. So with this, we've come to the end of the topic properties of a cell. I hope you enjoyed the class. Go through every note we've discussed. Use your textbook, study, and prepare for your weekly tests. Thank you.